Good morning. I wish to invite forward two members of our graduating class of 2022, Noelle Brown and Sophie Shanae Gold-Dulabom, as they will be singing our national anthem. I ask that everyone please rise, and gentlemen, please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Graduates, you may be seated. Ms. Ward, esteemed trustees, Mr. Hanford, faculty, parents, guests, friends, and most importantly, members of the class of 2022. Good morning and welcome to the 166th commencement exercises of Elgin Academy. I am honored to have the privilege of beginning our ceremony this morning, a special day for all involved, but especially for the 24 members of the class of 2022. My responsibility is to welcome all of you assembled here today to our beautiful campus, and I do this as a representative of the tremendous group of educators here. Class of 2022, I take very seriously the responsibility of being one of the last members of the Elgin Academy community who gets to speak with you as a whole. During my time at Elgin Academy, I have become fond of stating that one of our goals in the upper school is to help students learn to advocate for themselves during their high school years so that they are ready for success once they leave Elgin Academy and home. I then tout some of the ways that we help students work toward that goal in the upper school. As they grow older, we give them opportunities to make choices. Choices in the classes they wish to take, choices in the co-curriculars in which they wish to engage, choices in how they use their open time during the day, and choices about when to approach teachers and other adults for help. I'm a firm believer that the only way to help students learn to make the best choices is first to allow them to make as many choices as possible, experience personal successes, and work through personal setbacks. What I don't always mention about this process of helping students become advocates for themselves is perhaps the most powerful tool in this development: the parents' willingness to step back gradually and let their child begin to lead more of their own life. I believe that Elgin Academy parents do an amazing job in this area, even though doing so is one of the toughest endeavors a parent can ever do. It is difficult to watch your child struggle and fail, whether that means falling down on the playground at a young age, having to work through the natural consequences that lead from procrastinating on a project or a paper, or navigating how to create and maintain healthy relationships with peers. Parents are tempted to step in and try to fix most of these issues, but doing so would mean that their child would not learn valuable problem-solving skills. I appreciate that I don't experience that at Elgin Academy. A few years ago, I read the book, The Gift of Failure: How the Best Parents Learn to Let Go So Their Children Can Succeed by Jessica Leahy. In one section of that book, Ms. Leahy focuses on the transition to college. While most of her advice is geared towards parents, the ideas she presents are equally important to graduates, because in order for a parent to be able to fully step back, it helps for them to have the confidence that their child is ready to push ahead without them. Therefore, I'd like to paraphrase some of Ms. Leahy's thoughts that she has for the parents of graduates, while at the same time interspersing ideas for the members of the class of 2022 so that you can help your parents be successful in their college transition. 1, parents, support your child in setting goals for the first year. Ask your child what they might imagine their first year of college might look like, and then ask them what they can do to turn that perfect fantasy year into reality. Next, support them in narrowing and prioritizing these goals. Keep in mind that these discussions should be supportive and in the spirit of guidance rather than dictatorial and controlling. Graduates, in order to help your parents, initiate and take charge of these discussions. These next years of your life will have a great influence on who you become. Entering this phase without planning ahead can lead to wasted time and wasted money. Therefore, set goals, discuss them with your parents, ask them for advice, and keep them updated on your progress, negative or positive. Parents, help your child identify allies on their new community. As your child settles into campus, support them in identifying advisors, professors, and deans who are equipped to help and provide advice so they don't have to call you in a panic about academic or social situations. Graduates, don't call or text your parents in a panic about academic or social situations. There are people on campus dedicated to support your academic, social, and emotional needs. Make use of these resources. Now, it is good to keep your parents informed, but they will appreciate receiving a call from you stating, "Here is what is happening, and here is what I am doing about it," rather than, "Here is what is happening, I have no idea what to do, please solve it for me." Parents, professors do not want parental input. Do not get involved in disputes over grades, schedulings, or incompletes. Not if your child is shy, not if your child is failing, and certainly not if your child says that they are too busy to deal with it. Students need the experience of reasoning with other adults in a mature and competent manner. Professors will lose respect for your child if you interfere. Graduates, you have hopefully honed the skills of advocating for yourself while at Elgin Academy. While you will be starting in a community where you do not have the same relationships that you have here right now, Remember that your professors want you to succeed, but they also want you to work hard to earn that success. Choose your seat wisely on the first day of class, especially if you are in a large lecture hall. Pay attention when you get that class's syllabus. Note your professor's office hours. Even if you do not have a reason to see them early in the term, I encourage you to stop by just to introduce yourself. That way, should questions or issues arise during their class, you have laid the foundation for a relationship in which you can seek guidance. As with before, should issues arise, I encourage you to inform your parents, but be sure to let them also know how you are working through it. Parents, trust that your children will ask for your help when they need it, that your child will call or text you when they need you, and that the frequency might not be as often as you like. Keep in mind that they will call and text you more often. If you are not the type of parent to jump straight into an inquiry of grades, assignments, and whether or not your child made that appointment with their professor you encourage them to make that week. Graduates, call your parents. You have been the light of their life for 18 years, and they will miss you dearly. Have honest, trusting conversations with them. Provide them insights into your experiences. Tell them that you love them and that you miss them, and thank them for playing a valuable role in helping you become who you are. Graduates, you have exciting journeys ahead of you. From my experience of having worked with your families for the past 4 years, I have confidence that your parents are ready to move forward and giving you control over your destinies. Remember, however, that you will make this process much easier for them if, when you go to college, you make mostly wise choices and strive to rectify the poor ones you make without asking them to step in and solve your issues. Finally, if you feel that your parent is taking more control than you need, remember that they are doing so primarily out of love for you. Just as each of you graduates high school and matriculates to college only once in your life, they only get to do this once as a parent with you, so they are learning as they go along as well. You are blessed that you get to share this experience together as a family. Class of 2022 students and parents, thank you for sharing this stage of your life with us. Congratulations on reaching this moment. I am honored to help award you your diplomas today. Thank you. At academic institutions across the country at this time of year, it is a tradition that people hear reflections from valedictorians. For important reasons, this student occupies a special position at any institution where people learn. That person is the chief academic and the resident student scholar, and the right to be called such only comes with a combination of effort, curiosity, diligence, and perseverance. I am pleased to have the honor of introducing the class of 2022 valedictorian, Sophie Shanae Gold-Dulabom, to you today. Her accomplishments are such that if I created a subset of all the valedictorians who I have introduced in the past, Sophie Shanae would be the valedictorian of all those valedictorians. Both our community and the academic world outside of Elgin Academy have recognized Sophie Shanae for her focus on challenging herself with her unparalleled work ethic and rising to those challenges. At last night's honors convocation, Mr. Hanford mentioned that attempting to list all of her accolades might take an entire evening. While I will do my best to be succinct, feel free to start a stopwatch if you want to see how long it takes to get through this list. She has a 4.28 grade point average. She has earned the Excellence in Latin Award, the Laura Davidson Sears Performing Arts Award, the Excellence in Science Award, the Female Athlete of the Year Award, the Dartmouth College Book Award, the Brandeis University Book Award, and the Old Main Award, a leadership award she was given last night due to a vote by her peers. She is a member of the National Honor Society, the NJCL Latin Honor Society, the International Thespian Society, and the Cum Laude Society, having been inducted into all of those organizations at the earliest possible time. She is an Illinois State Scholar, an AP Scholar with Distinction, and a multi-year medal recipient on the National Latin Exam. It is even more impressive that this truncated list of awards includes all potential aspects of a student's possible upper school experiences: academics, the arts, athletics, and leadership. Rarely has a student performed at such a high level in all of those areas. However, Sophie Chenet is more than just a list of accolades. To summarize the type of person that she is and the contributions that she has made to our school community, I would like to share some words that her advisor, Ms. Howe, wrote to her earlier this year. Your teachers noted your commitment to everything you do, your confidence in yourself, and how unafraid you are in all things. They also noted your intuition and empathy, and it's those last two that I want to take particular pride in. To care about people other than yourself and to bring joy and understanding to them on a daily basis is something special. The activities that you choose to be a part of are a reflection of your priorities, and your clubs are all about other people. Race, Safe, and PADS are all about serving underserved members of your community. Environmental Club and the Cupola are about making your community better and more informed. And finally, Theater, Improv, and Music Club are about sharing the arts and adding beauty to the world. You are giving so much to the community at EA, and I want to thank you for it. Sophie Chenet, we are overjoyed to have shared this phase of your life with you. You have made Elgin Academy a better place, and we know that you will do the same at Colby College. It is my pleasure to introduce our class of 2022 valedictorian, Sophie Chenet Gold-Dulabaum.
Ms. Ward, esteemed trustees, Mr. Hanford, Ms. Wetmore, faculty, parents, guests, friends, and members of the class of 2022. I am honored to have the opportunity to speak to you today. Sometime around pre-kindergarten, I remember saying that I planned to live until the year 3000. In my mind, my reasoning was not because I wanted to become a superhuman, and not because I assumed that technology would develop to be advanced enough for this to be possible, but really because I thought I would be 96 in the year 3000 rather than 996. Looking back, I think it's safe to say that the Jonas Brothers are to blame for my fixation on the year 3000. Luckily, though, my grasp on the concept of time soon improved. And I know this because I remember logging into our classroom computer for the first time when we were in first grade. At the time, our logins included our high school graduation year, 2022. Seeing the number 2022 was quite mind-boggling for me in 2010. The years of growing to come, the years of learning to come, it was all simply unfathomable. But we made it. Here we are now, graduating high school in 2022. Although I must say, it being 2022 is not easy to fathom either. Like I assume most people, growing up, I heard adults in my life say various common phrases regarding the passage of time, such as, they grow up so fast, the days are long, but the years are short, time flies when you're having fun, time is money. I think these instill in us a sense of urgency, a sense that, on a larger scale, our time is scarce. The pandemic also aided in establishing this sense, as we watched anticipated times fade into the reality of quarantine, like Spring Carnival 2020, Spring 2020 choir concerts and sporting events, and as we watched unusual experiences emerge, like the 2020 through 2021 school year in general. For all of us, time passed in mysterious ways throughout the pandemic. Slow times, vanishing times, weird times, times of loss. But in our unexpected high school journey, the class of 2022 has had many unique times, not just those in the heart of the pandemic. We're the only class to have both a fully pre-pandemic freshman year and a mostly normal senior year. We're the last class to have experienced both trip week and J-term, and I'm not sure if we're the only senior class to achieve this, but I would say that losing tug-of-war to the freshmen at homecoming was quite unique. Although we did redeem ourselves at Spring Carnival. Furthermore, besides the pandemic, we encountered numerous other instances in which time passed differently. Time passed differently whenever we consecutively climbed the steps from the theater all the way up to the 4th floor of the Writer Center, and on the days we slept in and came in late because we had study hall first. As we could gather from Oscar's senior speech as well as Delaney's infamous leech story, time passed differently when we were camping in the Wisconsin wilderness. Time passed differently when some of us were on car decorating duty for Homecoming 2019, but the car was Mr. Sepp's, and so we were rushing to finish while also trying to be super careful not to inflict any damage. Time passed differently when we revealed a college acceptance in college class, and the Idea Lab subsequently erupted into cheers and applause. When we spent English class acting out the final scene of Hamlet with fake fencing foils and wine, hibiscus tea. Time passed incredibly differently during J-term period, and time passed differently when we came together eating ice cream in the Learning Center, counting down to our final bell of high school. Any short amount of time can feel long, and any long amount of time can feel short. Just because 4 years of high school is small in comparison to the rest of our lives does not mean that these 4 years were short. And maybe if I was able to live to the year 3000, I would feel just as old as a 96-year-old. I believe that the same statement Fiona exclaimed in Calculus 2 when we found out that 0 factorial equals 1 also applies to our labeling of time. It's all made up anyways. Not all of our time is in our control, but for our time that is in our control, I don't think we're only able to make the most of it by going after our passions and using it intentionally. I think we're also, to an extent, able to make the most of it by shaping our perceptions towards it, even stretching or compressing it as we do so. To my fellow graduates, I'm incredibly grateful for the time we've had together. The exciting times, the times we helped and learned from each other, the times we simply stuck together to brave the storm that life in an unprecedented time can be. I think we've made great use of our time here at EA. We have so many academic, extracurricular, and athletic achievements. We have strong characters, adventurous spirits, and kind hearts. I know we can only flourish from here. And I challenge us to take as much control of our time as possible. To not grow stuck in slow motion as we encounter a wild array of new experiences in just a few months. To not be overcome by a sense of urgency despite our time being limited. And yes, to feel empowered to take time and make time to pursue our goals, whether they're to live to the year 3000 or to change the world in one or more of the many ways it needs changing. And in doing so, find balance between rushing and pausing or letting time slip and holding on to it. After all, there are emergencies that require immediate action, but also urgent issues that require us to slow down and think the most. I would like to share a quote from Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake, a book loved by much of the class of 2022, that I think, although originating from a very different context, encapsulates the difficult feelings we may have surrounding time in today's world. He doesn't know which is worse, a past he can't regain or a present that will destroy him if he looks at it too clearly. Then there's the future, sheer vertigo, end quote. By being mindful of our concept and use of time, we can defeat this vertigo, grow comfortable with facing uncertainty, and do great things. Lastly, on behalf of the class of 2022, thank you to our amazing teachers, coaches, staff, parents, families, and friends for your countless hours of lessons and mentorship. We value the time you have invested in us. Now, we owe it to you, as well as ourselves, to pay forward this investment by contributing our very best to the world. Thank you.
It is my distinct pleasure this morning to introduce our 2022 commencement speaker, Elizabeth Wetmore. Ms. Wetmore is the author of the novel Valentine, which debuted at #2 on the New York Times hardcover fiction bestseller list in April of 2020. No small feat in the midst of a burgeoning pandemic and without the benefit of a national book tour. She is a native of Odessa, Texas, and a graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop, holding a Master of Fine Arts degree in English with a focus in creative writing from the University of Iowa. Her fiction has appeared in such prestigious publications as Epoch, Kenyon Review, Colorado Review, Baltimore Review, Crab Orchard Review, Iowa Review, and other literary journals. She is the recipient of a fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts and 2 fellowships from the Illinois Arts Council, as well as a grant from the Barbara Deming Foundation. In addition, she was a Rana Jaffe Scholar in fiction at Breadloaf and a fellow at the MacDowell Colony. By her own admission, Beth's path to publication of her first novel has not always been a conventional or direct one, but praise from the literary world was swift and impressive, comparing her to such authors as Barbara Kingsolver and Harper Lee. Valentine explores timely themes such as racism, xenophobia, and violence against women. She has been lauded for the indelible characters who people her book, something that is not surprising given that she is married to one of Elgin Academy's most indelible characters, George Sanchez, our new Dean of Students and senior English teacher. Among myriad accolades, Ann Patchett called Valentine fierce and complex, a novel of moral urgency and breathtaking prose. While the Boston Globe touted Ms. Wetmore as a strong new voice in American fiction. We could not be more excited to hear what that strong new voice has to say to the class of 2022. So please, join me in enthusiastically welcoming our author, Elizabeth Wetmore, to the podium.
Good morning. To the trustees of Elgin Academy, Mr. Hanford and Mr. Sept, faculty and staff, parents, caregivers, family and friends, and most of all to you, the beloved members of this community, the Elgin Academy class of 2022. Thank you for giving me the opportunity on this beautiful late spring morning to share in your excitement, your joy, and maybe for a few of you, enormous relief that we have all arrived somehow at this moment. I'm deeply humbled and honored to be here with you. When Mr. Hanford invited me to be your commencement speaker, I was, frankly, shocked. As I mentioned when I was on campus a couple of weeks back, I was a terrible high school student, aimless and daydreamy, often in trouble for minor and a few major infractions of the rules, argumentative in class, and convinced that my opinions on most topics were the correct ones. My grades were mediocre at best, and when I graduated, barely. My central goals were 1, to get the heck out of my hometown as soon as possible, and 2, learn to surf. I imagined I would go to college at some point, but I didn't have a clue what I might do there, apart from taking advantage of a spectacular library and discount tickets to see live music. So I spent a year in Venice Beach, California, where I waited tables and read only the books that I wanted to read, and slowly, clumsily, after taking enough salt water up my nose to shrivel my brain, learned to surf. All of this is to say, I imagine there are at least a couple of you who already suspect, or who may start to suspect once the dust of high school begins to settle in the next few weeks, that, as it turns out, you really aren't quite sure what you want to study at college, much less what you might want to be when you grow up. So I want to take a second to tell you all that it's okay to feel a little lost, to be a little lost. In fact, it's better than okay. It's wonderful and necessary and a key part of your formation. I hope you can enjoy the ride. And like any nerdy writer who spends most of her days alone with books and music, occasionally losing track of time during long moments spent gazing out the window, wondering if the bird song I'm hearing comes from a robin, a wren, or a white-throated sparrow, I prepared for this day by reading and listening to a number of commencement speeches, the greatest hits, if you will, and by reading a few editorials, almost all of them written by adults, almost all of them lamenting the dire state of the youth in America, which I found confusing since, one, given the state of the world, I'm not sure these adults really ought to be casting aspersions on any generation except maybe their own, and two, my observations, both as the parent of a kid just a year younger than you and a writer who's had the good fortune to meet and speak with a number of young people in recent years, tell me different. When I look at your faces, I am filled with an admiration, not only for your tech prowess, but for all you have already accomplished. Daily, America's teenagers give me enormous hope for the future. And because I admire folks your age tremendously, I'm not sure that I can honestly offer you much by way of good advice. Should I talk about the grace and wisdom that accompanying sacrificing for others when you already know about sacrifice, both from your own experiences, recent and otherwise, and from seeing the examples of your parents and caregivers? I know this because I listened to some of your senior speeches, and this is likely as good a time as any to say to the parents and loved ones in the crowd that your graduates wanted to make sure that I said to you on their behalf, thank you. Thank you for your love and your faith in them. Thank you for the sacrifices you've made to bring them to this day and all the days going forward. Or maybe I could talk about the value of hard work and perseverance, true grit and stick-with-itness. But you've all heard it 1,000 times, and that's just in the past year, or even in the past few hours when your salutatory and Brianna spoke last night. And can I seriously presume to lecture you on the importance of cultivating resilience when you have demonstrated, particularly in the past couple of years, that you are already enormously resilient people? I might suggest that you learn to roll with the punches, adapt to setbacks, hardships, and adversity to better cope with life's vagaries. A phrase that has its origins in boxing, rolling with the punches is a move that allows one to maneuver one's body away from a punch to lessen the impact of the blow. And it begs the question, what the heck are you doing in that boxing ring anyway? Maybe that's not the place for you. Instead, I've decided to play to my strengths. Because while I'm not particularly adept at offering good advice, I absolutely, unequivocally shine at offering bad advice. And so the subject of this commencement speech is bad advice. Along with a truly staggering number of missteps, bad decisions, and unexpected detours, I've got decades of giving bad advice under my belt. I'm the best friend who, after her third margarita, can always be counted on to say things like, know what you should do? You should quit your job immediately and tell your boss he can go straight to hell while you're at it. Or, I think living in a van and writing poetry is a killer way to spend a year, maybe even 2. Or, personally, I think you'd look great in bangs. Which reminds me, before I forget, I almost always listen to music that inspires and enlightens me while I'm writing. With a little help from George, I put together a playlist for this speech. We made it public on Spotify, so if you're interested, you can find it at EA Commencement 2022. In that spirit, I offer to you now a few selections from my extensive collection of bad advice. This is by no means an exhaustive list. First, make an art of being unproductive. I might offer different advice to a less disciplined crowd, but I'm aware from conversations with George and your senior speeches of how much you've accomplished already. You are already thinkers and scholars, poets and musicians, athletes and activists and entrepreneurs. You are already dreamers and doers. So I want to put a little bug in your ear, a little bug that whispers, it's okay to slack off from time to time, to spend an hour or an afternoon or some part of your summer staring out the window doing absolutely nothing. It's okay to set off on a long walk first thing in the morning with no game plan, no map, and no idea where you're going. The great American writer Kurt Vonnegut said it best. "We are here on earth to fart around," he wrote, "and don't let anybody tell you different." I would argue that farting around is an essential part of your formation. Next to trying to observe the world carefully and listening for the stories that come my way, daydreaming is where my best ideas for my art have come from. Creative loafing, I've heard it called. Farting around, when done properly, will allow your imagination to flourish. It will help you cultivate your powers of observation, your ability to sit quietly while your thoughts wander, and even, gasp, to allow yourself to be a little bored. And if it's true that, as the poet Mary Oliver wrote, attention is the beginning of devotion, you can think of these moments as useful ways to cultivate the attention needed to be devoted to your craft if you're an artist, or to your work, or your family and friends. More importantly, you don't want to live your life on autopilot, mindlessly moving from event to event, task to task, accomplishment to accomplishment, without ever taking the time to sit and think and wonder and dream, to ask yourself if the life you're living is the one you want, and if it is not, to begin the hard work of creating a new one. Second, learn important life lessons from graffiti, the writing on bathroom stalls, and New Yorker cartoons. Here's an example of one of my favorites from the latter. Two cats are sitting on a front porch looking at the doormat. In front of one cat lays a very large rat. In front of the other is a small mouse. Unsurprisingly, the cat with the small mouse is staring glumly at its prey. The other cat, the one with the enormous rat, says to its companion, "Comparison is the thief of joy, Mittens." I suspect many of you are already familiar with the hazards of measuring your worth, your satisfaction, or your accomplishment against those of your peers or anyone else. But it bears repeating, your path is your own. Your future belongs to you and you alone, and I can think of nothing that will suck the joy and delight out of a soul more quickly or thoroughly than always looking to see how you stack up against others. For those of you who are going into the arts, writers and musicians and artists of all stripes, this sort of dogged independence is particularly crucial. "I'm writing for myself and strangers," Gertrude Stein wrote in a letter to F. Scott Fitzgerald in the spring of 1925. It is worth noting that she does not mention friends, lovers, or even family. Third, fail early and fail often. How many of you wake up every morning and say, not in despair, but with hope and enthusiasm, "How am I going to fail today?" I certainly don't. But despite my aversion to failure, I know that if I'm to live boldly and honestly, and certainly if I'm to write stories that matter in the world, I must accept that failure will happen frequently. I must embrace it. I hope every single one of you will fail often and with great aplomb, because if you are trying and failing, then you are doing something very, very right. You are being courageous in thought and action. You are taking risk, and I don't know a single person worth their salt as an artist or worker or human being who doesn't take risks. Fourth, disobey. Given what I've already shared with you, it will not surprise you to learn that in my view, disobedience often gets a bad rap. Power, and those who wield it, often depends on the very human and self-protective impulse to obey, to sit down and shut up, to quietly acquiesce to those with stronger opinions or more money or more years under their belt. On a larger scale, disobeying means standing up against injustice wherever you find it. It means doing what's right rather than what's expedient. And it may mean that you have to give up something, security, for example, or the place you thought you deserved in the pecking order. And make no mistake, there may be consequences to pay. I hope you will pay them gladly, because living your life on your terms is perhaps the greatest way to honor the gift of the time you've been granted on this earth. A commencement speech typically comes at the end of some great endeavor, in your case today, your graduation from high school. But the word commencement means beginning, and no matter who you are now or who you've been told you are, my hope for you is that you live into your one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver calls it. Because not only is that your right, but because this world desperately needs you, your ideas, your intelligence, your resilience, and your ability to sacrifice for the greater good, your kindness and compassion. I hope that you will never take seriously those fools who refuse to accept you for who you are, for who you love, and for who you want to be. I hope that you will all, in the words of that old hymn, lift every voice, whatever that means to you, and sing. It is of utmost importance. The world urgently needs it. So no pressure. Seriously, congratulations, graduates, and thank you for giving me hope. May your days and months and years be filled not only with terrible mistakes, bad decisions, and weird detours, but also with love and joy, hope and wonder. Thank you.
As the Student Council President, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Ms. Wetmore for her words of advice, support, and encouragement. In addition, we are so thankful for your willingness to speak to us today. There is much to learn in what you said, and we appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. On behalf of my classmates, I would like to thank you for spending time on our commencement day with us and for sharing your wisdom. Please accept this Elgin Academy gift as an enduring expression of our appreciation to you.
Before I give the Mother-Daughter Award, you'll know where to whom to thank if I come next year to this event with bangs. Why is that so funny? I don't understand. Tradition has it that the first of the two awards given at each year's commencement is the Mother-Daughter Award, a recognition given to the girl graduate who best typifies the ideals and character of Elgin Academy. The faculty decided this award a few weeks ago. Most years, I look at writing this presentation as a fun literary challenge, almost a game. How far can I go in this description of the recipient without everyone knowing? What clever turns of phrase can I use to ensure that I am describing the recipient but not giving it away, inventively throwing everyone off the scent? Can I make it all the way to the end before anyone knows? That's what passes for fun in my world. I should probably talk to Miss Elion, our school counselor, about that. When I prepare to do that, Ms. Flugel always generously puts together for me a folder with the recipient's records, transcripts, advisor letters, award descriptions from throughout upper school. This year I asked her to do that, and rather than a folder, she produced a notebook on a cart so that she would not hurt her back. And at that point I realized that my usual way of approaching this would be futile. Fittingly, then, my task today is not to lead you to the 2022 winner, but rather to describe to you the myriad reasons why Sophie Shanae Gold-Dulabam is this year's Mother-Daughter Award recipient. I will start by saying that it is not for lack of worthy potential winners. There are so many accomplished academics, thespians, athletes, community servants, and just darn good people in the class of 2022. Winning this award in this particular year is remarkable in and of itself. Remarkable is a good word to use here. Sophie Chenet is a remarkable person in a remarkable group. In the last 18 hours or so, you've heard much about her academic accomplishments, her athletic stick-to-itiveness. You've enjoyed her singing. You've heard her speak. You know she won major awards in world languages, the arts, science, and athletics. She garnered book awards. She has been saluted by external agencies like the Advanced Placement Program. She's in the National Honor Society, and she even received the Old Main Award from her peers. Validation by all of those sources, internal and external, is exceedingly rare, but perfectly characteristic of Sophie Chenet. After all, as Ms. Baer said last night, everywhere you look, there was Sophie Chenet. That sums it up well, because you don't win this award just by winning lots of other awards. There is something else about her, but it's hard to describe. In reading the various narrative descriptions I read about Sophie Chenet, it was gratifying that I am not the only one who struggles to describe her. They all say things that indicate, yes, she's smart, but there's something else, something that I can't adequately describe. But because I have to, I will try. And as I read further, as usual, my peers seated over there, Sophie Chenet's teachers have done better than I can myself. So I will quote from them. Sophie Chenet is this year's winner because she is intuitive, passionate, genuine, earnest, and curious. When things got hard, as they did sometimes even for her, she faces challenges and keeps working until she overcomes them. She never takes shortcuts, and she has a rare ability to connect the dots. Her college letter ends by saying what a wonderful human being she is. We are a better school for her presence, and the same will be true of, at that point we didn't know, today we know it is Colby College. When it comes down to it, the winner of the Mother-Daughter Award ought to be one who makes everyone better, one who cares whether she does so, and one who strives to match her intelligence and knowledge with compassion for the people and things with whom she shares the earth. She should defy typical description because she brings so much to everyone around her. For all of those reasons, we have as fitting a winner as we've ever had, because Sophie Chenet is exactly that person. I am honored to present the 2022 Mother-Daughter Award to Sophie Chenet Goldulabam and to ask her to come to the podium to accept this award.
The Ora L. Pelton III Award is presented to the boy graduate who best typifies the ideals and character of Elgin Academy. The recipient of this award was selected by the faculty by secret ballot, and this announcement is a surprise to them. In fact, I always appreciate that this announcement is a surprise to almost everyone except Mr. Hanford and me. It makes writing this speech a little like a game in which I drop hints and clues along the way so that I can observe when students in the graduating class and in the audience have that aha moment of recognition regarding who I am describing. This year I decided to take things a step further. I anticipate that most of you are aware of a viral puzzle game from this past year, Wordle. In it, you have 6 chances to guess a 5-letter word, and your only clues are given in your previous guesses. Without further ado, I present the Ora L. Pelton version of Wordle, in which I will describe the recipient using 5 5-letter words, culminating in the 6th word being the name of the recipient, although I imagine that a number of you will be able to guess who I am describing before I get to the end. Show of hands, how many people have played a game of Wordle? Excellent, I prepared for the right crowd. The first word that describes this student is learn. And those of you who have played understand what the yellow N means. This student is a voracious academic who has passions in multiple areas. He has earned exemplary grades in all subject areas, taking and mastering our highest level courses in mathematics, social studies, science, Spanish, and computer science. Looking to see if there's any glances of recognition yet. The second word that describes this student is humor. He has a wry sense of humor that is appreciated by his peers and teachers alike, and understands the ability to make other people laugh is a wonderful quality to have. I believe that he also knows that laughter is an effective catalyst for learning. The third word that describes this student is champ. He was a 4-year member of the Elgin Academy golf team and played an integral role in last year's ISL conference winning, regional winning, sectional winning, and state qualifying team. Likewise, he was a vital member of the EA Scholastic Bowl team who played an important role on this year's team that won the Masonic State Tournament, finished 3rd in the NAQT Small School State Tournament, and finished 11th in the United States in the NAQT Small School National Tournament. The fourth word that describes this student is honor. And we have our first green letter. This word serves two purposes. First, he is a member of the National Honor Society, the Spanish National Honor Society, and the International Thespian Society, which is an honor society for theater arts. More importantly, however, is he is a person of honor, someone who is respected greatly by peers and adults alike. The fifth and final word that describes this student is enjoy. We have collectively enjoyed engaging with this student at Elgin Academy for many years, in our classrooms and common areas, on the golf course, in the theater tech booth, and through his love of trivia. This student has enjoyed and strived to make the most of his experiences here at EA, and we are a better place as a result. Finally, the sixth word in this wordle represents a shuffled version of the letters that we have seen pop up in yellow in the previous 5 words. If we rearrange the letters H, N, O, O, J in the right order, we get I failed the dismount. We get Jono. As Jonathan Vogt is affectionately known by his peers and some faculty. As he departs EA, he has myriad opportunities awaiting him at the University of Illinois, where he will pursue studies in electrical engineering while engaging in the honors program. We know that he will take all of these positive characteristics, as well as many more that cannot be described in the parameters of a 5-letter wordle word, to make the most of those experiences while making the experiences of those around him better. Congratulations, Jonathan, on being the recipient of the Class of 2022 Ora L. Pelton III Award. Please join me on the stage. I'll have to remember to cut the sleeves on the master's gown if I want to do that again. The time has now come for us to celebrate with the Class of 2022 the completion of their Elgin Academy experience. In a moment, I will signal for the first section of the Elgin Academy Class of 2022 to rise in preparation for the conferring of their diplomas. First, I am pleased to call forward Mr. Jim Kidston, the senior member of this distinguished Elgin Academy faculty. Mr. Kidston is completing his 42nd year teaching on this campus.
Thank you, Doug. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Ward, On behalf of Mr. Hanford, the administration, and my teaching colleagues, it is a genuine pleasure and an honor to inform you that these candidates for graduation have successfully completed the prescribed course of study as approved by this faculty and are thereby entitled to receive an Elgin Academy diploma. We, their teachers, proudly recommend them to you for the conferring of the diplomas and assure you that they are ready to use the knowledge that they have gained here in order to lead their lives with confidence and compassion.
Would the first row of graduates please rise? Alexander Andrews. Alexander Edward Berlin. Fiona James Baborsi. Noelle Marie Brown. Emily Kara Cooper. Oscar Garcia. Sophie Shanae Gold-Dulabaum. Tommy Guyette Jr. Natalie Lynn Jane. Nikhil Anoop Karna. Annalisa Francis McHugh. The first row may be seated, and the second row, please rise. Kendall Reese Malone. Anjan Parapelli. Leela Proden. Delaney Grace Salone Reamer. Shreya Sai. Alexander Russell Sept. Brianna Pamela Sahida. Apollo Sufi. Kiara Suvagia. Jonathan Scott Vogt. William Frederick Washer. Olivia Sophie Welsh. Carter Richard Woltz. I ask that the first row please rise again so we can honor and congratulate the entire class of 2022. Graduates, you may be seated.
One last time, I stand between you and something you'd rather be doing for a few minutes, so I'm going to relish that opportunity. I will not make you wait long enough for me to grow bangs, but I will make you wait a minute more. It's tempting for me and would be easy, I think, to form a charge on behalf of the school to ask you to do something. And it'd be pretty easy for me to form that from the extraordinary job you've done in response to COVID. You know, use what you learned about yourself, you have remarkable resilience, et cetera, et cetera. And while all that would be true, as so many of you have demonstrated a grace uncommon for your age, I hope you can understand that I'm not interested in that theme and that being the theme of today, nor am I interested so much right now in looking backwards on a day that is about next steps and joy. If I'm honest, while I know the pandemic will be forever part of your experience, for some reason, I don't want it to define you. So for today, I would love to not talk about the subject that in some ways has dominated for well over 2 years. I'm not sure if you've ever had this experience, but I bet some of you have. When I read a book, it often sends me off on weird tangents, and so oftentimes what I say at the end of the year is spurred by whatever I've read of late, and unfortunately, what I read of late was a book about Herbert Hoover. That's right, the president we know primarily is the one who failed to address the Depression. I guess in some level we're lucky I didn't read a book about James Buchanan. Some history buffs will get that joke, but other than that, I'm not sure there's a worse choice. Herbert Hoover makes any list of the worst presidents, and deservedly so. He understood the reality of what was happening way too late. And even more importantly, he never understood what people needed to hear to deal with the true impact of what was going on in our country. And as a result, he is thought of as hard-hearted, uncaring, and ineffective. So why am I talking about him? Well, partly because I read that book, but also because Herbert Hoover is the best example that I could come up with. Who hired the plane? That's not going to stop me. I'm just going to wait. Herbert Hoover is the best example I could come up with to make a point about subtlety and about depth. Herbert Hoover is judged historically without either of those things. His failure to lead the nation effectively in one of its darkest hours leads us to certain inevitable conclusions. In another way of looking at it, however, Herbert Hoover is an inspirational rags to riches story. A man raised in abject poverty in Iowa, one whose parents died in his youth and was raised by his uncle. He was in the initial class of Stanford University, despite the fact he only attended night school because his family needed him to work. He became an engineer and a geologist after his time at Stanford, and this led him down a path of great wealth when it turned out that he had a true acumen for making money. He amassed a tremendous fortune in his early working years, earning millions of dollars in mining and financing other businesses, and he turned his attention with that money to public life, where he was heralded for assisting people less fortunate, both in this country and around the world, through his administration of various food distribution programs during World War I. Most notably, he was appointed to run the U.S. Food Administration, a tremendously successful and effective relief organization that many credited for helping the U.S. effectively survive that war and the toll it could have taken on our society. That was the platform to public life, and from there we know the rest. He became president, and that's the man we think of. So what's the point? Well, there's more to the story, but the point for today is this. Herbert Hoover has become synonymous with inefficiency, cold-heartedness, a true lack of empathy, based on a snapshot of a brief moment in his life. This reputation belies what anyone knew of him previously. The answer to why that is lies in a very simple human desire. That is the desire to simplify and to categorize things as simply as possible to understand them. Humans, in many ways, are the enemies of subtlety and depth. This is where it gets to you. You live at a time when you are inundated with tools that encourage you to categorize. And nothing does that more than social media. It encourages a way of dealing with others, a way of commenting on others that contains no subtlety or depth at all, but rather encourages the loudest, the most explosive commentary, things that you would only say behind the comfort of a screen and that you would never say in public places or into this microphone. My charge to you is to not fall for it. You would not be here on this stage today if you did not understand subtlety. You would not be going where you are going if you did not understand depth. You would not be on that stage if you did not understand differences of opinion, if you didn't grasp that a snapshot of a person is not an entire biography, but rather just that, a static moment in time. Class of 2022, I want you to strive to always understand with depth, to know that what is on the surface is only that, to assume that everything has layers, and to seek to sincerely peel them back. Be the example for others of how to probe deeply, of how to treat other people, of how to really and deeply understand people and things. I know you can do this because I have watched you do it here. I hope that you remember this when you are tempted by those who would encourage you to behave differently or to engage in a lack of understanding. Use the memory of this and your time here and what you have been taught by these wonderful people to hold yourself accountable to something better. We can't wait to hear the stories of the deeper understanding that you bring to those around you. We expect nothing less of you, knowing that you are up to that challenge. Congratulations, and we can't wait to hear the great things that you do. Thank you.
We now invite everyone to stand and sing the Elgin Academy hymn with us. The words and music are in your program.
Academy, we pledge to thee and raise our colors high. We'll honor thee and loyal be and raise thee to the sky. Let Elgin sons and daughters stand united all for thee, and praise our school throughout the land. Long live Academy! Academy will always be the place that we call home. They'll bear your mark and we embark, no matter where we roam. As Elgin sons and daughters spread your light through word and deed, so all may see the strength of thee. Long live Academy!
Please be seated. As our commencement exercises come to a close this morning, congratulations once again to the class of 2022 and their families. On behalf of the Elgin Academy faculty, staff, administration, and trustees, we ask that you remain seated during the recessional, during which the class of 2022 will lead us. After the receiving line, if your family wishes to have an official photograph taken with your graduate, please assemble on the pad in front of the Writer Center. We also welcome you to join the reception under the tents, thanks to the gracious work of dedicated parents. Please join me one last time in recognizing this 166th graduating Elgin Academy class of 2022. Graduates, please rise. You may toss your caps on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Your hair looks great.
Thank you.